In the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA096.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you.
And we are back, Taylor. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
Woo! Halfway over. Week's halfway done.
I am on my way to Chicago if it's Wednesday. I'm going to Chicago for a few days.
Are you going to the convention?
No, I'm going to be there before, just like for like a meeting, because other people will be there for the convention. I'll be there right before. But yesterday we were at a pool party and my husband was like, "Yeah, I travel for work. I just like don't really do anything cool." And I was like, "I literally already know where I'm going to eat like the second I land in Chicago."
I mean,
I'm
it's
like,
yeah, if it's Chicago. I mean, yeah.
I'm going to get Italian beef and walk to the water and eat it next to the water. I can do that from my hotel.
So beautiful. I love Chicago.
It's
When the weather's
excited.
good, Chicago's incredible.
Yeah, which
But
is like 3 days of the year. But yes,
right. I think you'll be there for that though.
I think so too. Well, I have it on my thing. I think it'll be a little hot. It'll be a little humid for my taste. But I
Okay.
lived there for the first 13 years of my life. I can survive.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Sweet. Wait, you got to do our intro.
Welcome to Jeep to Fail, everyone. We are a podcast that brings you history's most notorious disasters and epic failures twice a week, every week. And I'm Taylor, joined by Fars.
I'm Fars, joined by Taylor.
Yay.
Very
It's
cool.
my turn today.
Today is Taylor's turn. She's going to tell us a riveting story.
I am. I'm kind of going to follow up on talking about saints because you did Mother Teresa last week, and I was already researching how you become a saint because I'm going to do a saint today.
Perfect.
And I know that one of your things last week was how much fun the Catholic Church lore is.
Oh yeah.
And man, we watched The First Omen last night. It's like the new movie.
Is it good? I saw the
Yes.
trailer.
I loved it. I thought it
Okay.
was great. I was like, this is scary as shit. I was like scared a couple times, and it's really fun myth building for
Okay.
like it's like it's before The First Omen in 70s.
Can I tell you why I didn't watch it? Was because I watched the trailer and I was like, okay, another creepy, scary child movie. Like it's like how many of those are there? But like, is it? It's worth
No,
it.
because the child doesn't even feel that old or doesn't feel that young. But the woman who is like the main character, like the nun, what is her name? Her name is whoa, her name's dope. Her name is Nell Tiger Free. That's a cool last name. She is in Servant, which is a show that I devoted a lot of time to, and I'm mad about it. I think I talked about that. It's on Apple TV. Um, but she plays this like in both roles, she plays like a really ultra religious, really, really like creepy woman that you can't figure out, and she's so good at it.
Sweet. Okay,
Yeah.
well then that'll go on the watch list.
Yeah. So that was fun. I was like, oh, this is fun. Because then a lot of the priests were like in cahoots with the devil and all the things, and
That's how it goes.
it's joy. So I also was thinking last Christmas to maybe do some things about saints, like who was Saint Nicholas and blah blah blah. So I might bring that back, just some like interesting stories from the past. But one thing I did see in my research for this is there is a young man who passed away recently. His name was Carlo Acutis.
I know
He
this.
was, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So he was born on May 3rd, 1991, and he was very religious, made a lot of Catholic websites, and he died of leukemia, which is super sad, but apparently he's performing miracles.
Yep. That's how
Yep.
you become a saint.
Yeah. So actually, I have a step by step of how you become a saint. You touched on it a little bit, but I have a little bit more. It's called canonization. Did you say that? That's like the process.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I
and
said beatification, which is like the starting point.
that's like yeah, exactly. That's in the middle. So there's like you have to be a servant of God when you're alive. Then after you die, there's a postio, which is a formal report that needs to be completed by like bishops and other people, and then sent to the Pope. And if the Pope likes it, he will write a degree of heroic virtue that will kind of get you on the list, on the short list. Then you have to do the miracles. So you're dead this whole time. So the first miracle uh, makes you a blessed person. So you can say like the blessed blah blah blah. And that's the beatification. And then the second miracle is the canonization. Then there's a ceremony. And it's just like it sucks that you're dead when this happens. Because it
I
sounds
mean,
like
yeah,
kind
but
of fun.
if you're truly religious, then your soul is aware of what's going
Right,
on.
right, right, right. Sure, 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 sure. I guess you're watching it from heaven. how
Yeah.
that goes. You can be beatified if you're a martyr, but not canonized. Like you can like skip some steps if you're killed for your religion. Also the Pope can waive some things if he feels like it, and it can take like centuries,
Yeah.
kind of like much later. Um, the first person to be canonized by the Pope through the formal process was Saint Ulrich of Augsburg. He was canonized by Pope John the 15th in the year 993. So I don't know. I feel like there's a bunch more that we can talk about that like have fun stories. But I want to talk about another saint, a new saint that I just heard of. Not new, new to me. And she's also a princess and a Viking warrior and pretty awesome.
I was hoping you were
So
to say Saint Nick.
no, I will do that eventually, I think, because I don't really know what his deal was. My friend at work, Ishik, he mentioned this one of these stories. There's like five amazing stories about this person. He mentioned one in passing, and I was like, holy shit, like I definitely want to talk about that. So, thank you, Ishik, for bringing that up. And I'm sure you don't, I know you don't know who this is, you're not going to guess, but I'm going to talk about Princess Olga of Kiev.
Sweet.
Cool. So, this is like I read a book about the Rus, which is like I'll tell you about the people that she kind of came from, and I watched a couple YouTube videos that I'll put in the notes. But important to note, everything that is old and also everything that has to do with saints is a smidge of like potentially not true.
Yeah, sure.
So this is a even if it isn't true, let's just believe it because it's fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like
You know
I
how we're gonna
mentioned with the Mother Teresa one, where the
Yeah,
lady was like, "My cancer was cured." The husband was like, "You went through chemo for like 8 years."
whatever. As long
Right.
as you're not hurting anyone,
Just
again,
believe it.
I
Like it's
don't give a shit.
fun. Yeah.
So actually Olga is gonna hurt a shit ton of people. So but not in the name of God. But we'll get to it. So Olga was born sometime between 890 and 925, which is a huge range. So sometime in that time she was born. She was a Viking coming from the north, and she ruled over the Kievan Rus people. So the Rus people aren't necessarily Russians today. They're like people from Scandinavia, Western Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and Finland. Like that's sort of where they ended up. But they were called the Rus people, and the capital was Kiev, which is the one that is in Ukraine right now. They ruled there from 862 to 1242. So she's kind of in like the beginning of it. This is so Game of Thrones. It's like wild. You're
It
like,
makes me really sad that they didn't have film and camera.
I know,
Because I
honestly.
pulled up her husband. I was like, he looks like he was drawn by Gary Larson. And it was like, I bet he looked
I
cool as
know.
shit.
I know she has a lot better like iconography than he does because she's more famous. But like some of them of her, she looks real mean and it's very fun.
She looks
She's
intense.
obviously
She has
like
an intense look in
obviously
her eyes.
blonde.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So my favorite thing is when like in history when like Dan Carlin or other people that I've like listened to talk about like the Vikings, the people that came down and how like big they were, and just like how scary it would be to have like a bunch of like you didn't know Vikings existed and when did they show up? And you're like, these guys are a foot taller than us, you know?
That'd be freaky.
Ooh. So the dynasty when Olga is alive is the Rurik dynasty from the Varangian Rus. So that's like the people, and King Rurik was the king first. He is after Rurik dies, a man named Oleg becomes king, and that's because Rurik's son Igor is too young. So Igor is not the ruler just yet. Oleg is kind of in the middle. So Oleg, the myth behind around him when he was the ruler of the Kievan Rus, which is this group of people, is that he was told by a prophecy that his horse would kill him. So he was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna get rid of this horse. So he took the horse, sent it away to like literally to a farm. He didn't kill it, he sent it away. And then years later, someone said, hey, Oleg, that horse that was gonna kill you, it died. And he was like, phew, I knew that guy wasn't gonna kill me, but I want to see his body. So he goes to the farm where there's a dead horse on the ground and he kicks the dead horse in the head to be like, you didn't get me. And a snake jumps out from underneath the head and bites him and he dies.
Just leave it alone.
He really poked the dead horse with that one.
Yeah. Okay. Ah, hey, that's good.
So, Oleg dies,
No, it's beating a dead
and
horse.
I know I said poked because he
Got it.
like, but you're right, beating is also right.
Fair.
But also thinking poking the bear, putting them together.
Got it.
Either way, don't do it. Um, So Rurik's son then becomes the leader. His name is Igor, and he is Olga's husband. They get married when maybe she's about 15, but we don't really know like the time. So she is now the princess of the Kievan Rus people. So in Igor is, a pillager. He wants to go around and pillage, get taxes, get more stuff. And in 945, the year, Igor is like, I'm going to go out and get some more taxes from this neighboring tribe called the Drevlians. So the Drevlians, Drevlians, which is an awesome name, he gets there and they're like, okay, here's some tax money. He leaves and he decides that that's not enough. He wants more. So Igor goes back to the Drevlians. He's like, I need more taxes. And they say no. And so they take two trees, pull them down to the ground, like stake them to the ground, tie one leg to each tree, and then let the trees go. And his body gets ripped apart by the trees.
It's pretty metal.
Pretty metal. So Igor is dead. And now Olga is in charge of their, I don't know, it's not like an empire, it's sort of just like their land and their like kingdom. And so their son, Svatoslav, is too young. He's only 3. So she's like the first woman to rule over these people, over this area. And she is pissed, obviously, because her husband was just murdered.
Right.
So she's going to get some real, real bloody revenge. So the prince of the Drevlians who killed her husband was named Prince Mal, M-A-L. And he was like, well, why don't you marry me now that you're single? You know, that I like ripped your husband in half.
Right.
So she goes, okay, like come to Kiev, come meet some people here. And so she says, quote, I don't know, loosely a quote, your proposal is pleasing to me. Indeed, my husband cannot rise again from the dead, but I desire to honor you tomorrow in the presence of my people. Return now to your boat when they get to Kiev, and remain there with an aspect of arrogance. I shall send for you on the morrow, and you shall say, we will not ride on horses nor go on foot. Carry us in our boat, and you shall be carried in your boat. So they think they're going to get this like grand entrance into the city. So like outside the walls, in the boats, and then they go like through a moat into the city, and they like pick up the boat on like the people of Kiev pick up the boat on like logs, and carry it like a chariot. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like how
Right.
you imagine like an Egyptian pharaoh being carried through the
Sure.
streets. So they carry it like that. And then, they say, carry us on our boat. So like they think that they're getting this like really great thing. And then as soon as they get into the city, they had spent all night digging a ditch. They drop the boat into the ditch and start filling it and bury everybody alive. And they say that she looked over the pit and inquired whether they found the honor to their taste. Like, are you not honored? And she buried them all alive.
Jeez. Hardcore.
So,
She's not a nice person.
no. So the Drevlians back home where they came from didn't know this had happened yet. And Olga sends a second note to them. And that note says, hey, send more guys, send your best men. We're like super happy here. Like we really want you to send like your best of the best, like join the celebration. But they don't know that the first envoy was all killed, right?
Right.
So she's like, send another group of people. Send me your best. And they get there and they're like, oh, we're super happy to be here, super excited. She goes, awesome. She's first, why don't you guys take a bath? Like, relax, go to the bathhouse. It'll be great. So
It's gonna end poorly.
yep, she locks them in the bathhouse and burns it to the ground, and they all burn alive.
That was
Um,
Braveheart too.
yes. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Or when they're all like hanging.
Yeah.
That happens in a lot of things. That's so bad. So the second envoy of people she burns alive. Then she sends them a note and she's like, okay. Like everything's fine, but I really just feel like I haven't mourned my husband enough. Like I haven't like really gotten it off my chest yet. So can you meet me by the trees where you killed him? Bring up all your army and bring a bunch of booze. Like bring up a ton of mead, sweet honey wine, bring a ton of it. We're just gonna have like a boozy funeral and we're gonna like, think about my husband that you killed and then I'll be over it. So she they all come, they all get wasted. And of course, when everybody is drunk, she has her army attack. They kill 5,000 men, and anybody who's like running away, they kill them on their way out. They kill like the entire army. And guess what this event is called in history?
The drunk fight.
The Red Funeral.
No,
Yeah, isn't that fun?
it is Game of Thrones.
I know.
Dude, even
Um,
like I'm seeing this thing about the Roriks about like how founded by Varangian
mhm.
prince. It's
Isn't
very
there something
close
that's like
to.
bring your Varangian hordes? Isn't
It's
that in
like,
a movie?
well, I don't know about that, but it sounds really close to Valerian.
Yes, exactly. Maybe that's right. Bring your Varangian hordes. Maybe that's not true. Bigger, I don't know, whatever. But infernal hordes, who knows? But yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so Game of Thrones. Like all these words could like totally be in it. So, um, then this is her kind of last thing. They're like, okay, now we're at war, officially. I'll stop pretending to like be nice to you guys. And then she goes to their the Drevlians' main home, which is in Koristan. Now it's called Koristan. Then it was called Ikoristan. It's in Ukraine. And I Wikipedia'd it and it looks beautiful. It was like very snowy and lovely. So she goes there and she's kind of on the way there. She's kind of taking over towns on the way and they're like paying tribute to her. But she goes to their like capital town and she's like, why do you persist in holding out? All of your cities have surrendered to me and submit to tribute so that the inhabitants now cultivate their fields and their lands are in peace. But you had rather die of hunger without submitting to tribute. So she's like, stop making me put this siege on your capital and just like let me win. You know?
It sounds a lot like a spouse being like, "Why did you make me hate you?"
Yeah, it's not good. It's
Oh,
very violent. Yes. And so then they're like, are you sure? Because you've done a lot of avenging and like we don't know if we believe you. And she was like, no, 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 no. I'm totally satisfied by the 5,000 men that I killed at the Red Funeral. No big deal. I'm totally fine and I'm like super happy. I just want you to pay me tribute, give me some taxes and like I will like, let
she's
you be.
lying through her teeth.
She's lying. So she says, here's what I would love to have. I would love to have 6 birds from each house, 3 pigeons and 3 sparrows. Everybody had birds. I don't know why. To eat them for the eggs, whatever. Everyone had birds in their house. She's like, all I want is just like birds from every household. And they're like, okay, we'll totally do that. So they gave her a bird, like the 6 birds from every household. And then she had her soldiers tie cloth with sulfur on the end to every single fucking bird. And then when the night fell, she lit it on fire and all the birds went home. So the whole entire city burned down like immediately.
It's like spending way too much time thinking about this.
She did like my Zoom did thumbs up. She sent flaming birds to every single household in the city. A book called The Primary Chronicles says there was not a house that was not consumed, and it was impossible to extinguish the flames because all the houses caught fire at once because every single bird went home. So every single house caught fire at the same time. Everybody who tried to leave was either killed or sent into slavery, and she got the nickname Mother of Sparrows.
Jeez, she's so. Why is she a saint?
I will tell you, but that is a great question because there is a lot of blood on her hands.
Yeah, she's not a nice woman.
So she got her revenge. I think she felt pretty good after this. And now she's ruling over her kingdom, which has expanded because she did, you know, knock down all those Drevlian towns. And of course, there is a dude who is like, but you're not married, so shouldn't you be married because you're a woman? And so he says, come to my city, come meet me and we could be married. And that person is Emperor Constantine. He says, come to Constantinople. So it's Constantine the seventh of Constantinople. And he's like, you should marry me. So she gets there. He's kind of like, it's like a diplomatic mission that she goes down there. And he says, will you marry me? And she says, I totally would, but like I'm a pagan and you're a Christian, and I don't think it's gonna work. Like you can't marry me because I am like a Viking pagan person. And he's like, well, what if I baptize you? And she's like, okay, cool. And so he baptizes her. And then in the baptism, he is also her godfather. So he like signs everything and like hangs out and like is a part of it. And then after it's over, he's like, great, you're Christian now. We can get married. And she goes, but now you're like my dad, so we can't get married. And he says, Olga, you have outwitted me. And she doesn't have to marry him.
She's like really uh, like way ahead of everyone.
Yeah. So it does sound though like she liked being Christian. At least is what the sources are saying, and maybe it's what they wanted to say. But she went back and tried to get Stanislav, her son, to get baptized, and he said no. He didn't want to do it. But she built some churches anyway, and she was sort of like the first person to, in this record, bring Christianity to that like Northern European, Russian, Ukrainian land. So her son never converted to Christianity. Um, Eventually, he did obviously become the ruler because he became of age and he started ruling. He also enjoyed pillaging, you know. And at one point, he says, I want to um, go to another city. I don't want to live in Kiev anymore. I want to go somewhere else where I have more gold. I have like, piles of gold, whatever. And Olga was like, I'm really old. She was like potentially in her 70s. And she was like, I want to just stay here. Can you just stay here until I die? And she died soon after in the year 969. So she got a Christian burial, even though her son kind of didn't want to do that. He wanted to do a Viking burial, which, as we know, sounds cooler. 'Cause I'm
Oh
pretty
yeah.
sure you get to be on that boat. Um, and her tomb was robbed by the Batu Khan. So the Khans coming in from Asia in 1240. But her body had been moved to the Church of the Tiles, which is in Ukraine, but I don't think exists anymore. Um, in her grandson, Vladimir, he adopted Christianity in 988. So, 20 so years after she died. And then he would start, to bring it to people like in the land as well. And now we know that like, there's a lot of like Orthodox Christianity in Russia and in the area is like very popular. In 1547, the Russian Orthodox Church canonized her due to her efforts to promote Christianity, and she is often referred to as, quote, equal to the apostles. So, because she did significant contributions to the spread of Christianity, even though like she didn't do it. Like her efforts to spread Christianity failed, but she did build some churches and did sort of like was the very first person like in that area to be a Christian and talk about it.
But that's not why she's a saint.
That is why she's insane.
I thought she had to perform a miracle.
Oh, sure, I'm sure she performed a miracle. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But she was like considered in the first place because of her bringing
Uh,
bringing Christianity to those people. And it's in Russia. It's a Russian Orthodox church, so maybe it's a little bit different than the Catholic Church.
man, some people's lives are so much cooler than ours.
I mean, what a tale of revenge that
How
is.
fun. There's nothing I love more than justified indignant rage. You know? It's like the
Uh-huh.
most satisfying feeling I think a human can have when like you can never fill the thirst you have
Yeah.
of anger.
Hmm.
And man, she really, really committed to it.
She really did. She really did.
Yeah,
I love the bird
all these
thing.
guys had to have read about her. Like the Game of Thrones guy, like
Oh yeah.
this all had to. I mean, people didn't pluck it out of thin air.
Yeah, no, totally. I feel like there's the more that I read about like some of these stories, you're like, oh, that I definitely saw that in Game of Thrones, or like I definitely saw that in like Lord of the Rings, like that idea of like, this kind of ruler and this kind of relationship with their daughter or whatever, like yeah, it's all, ancient history is, as we said, storytelling as well. So yeah,
It
but this is fun.
it also reminds me of just how uh just tiny and new America is, the United States. It reminds me when
Yeah.
I was in Ireland and I was like in that one I was at Trinity University and like yeah so
Hmm.
this church or not the church they're like yeah this library it was the first brick was laid in 1482 and it was completed in 1500. I was like what are you even talking about?
Did you see the Book of Kells while you were there?
Yes.
Yeah, so pretty.
Yeah,
We
it was
talked about
really
like
cool.
illuminated manuscripts. Yeah. Um, oh, Trinity College is so beautiful.
It is.
Um, yeah, and also just one more thing, if you are so inclined, Olga of Kiev's feast day is July 11th, which is the anniversary of her death. So I guess you just, I don't know, put some put some birds on fire,
I mean we just missed it.
kill your enemies.
It's a
Yeah,
month from today or it
yeah,
was a month from today.
yeah. So, yeah, super fun story. I'm glad I learned about it.
Are you gonna do? Is this gonna be a series? You're gonna cover a saint?
I don't know if it's gonna be an officially a series. I feel like I might like grab one every once in a while when I like find one. There's so many, you know. And some of them like it's so interesting that like the trying to get like six people to be Christian in Kievan Rus is enough to make you a saint, even though you killed like thousands of people
I know.
in
Meanwhile,
revenge.
Mother Teresa is living in like basically a prison cell of her own, making washing lepers' feet that are falling off in her hands.
You know, even though she has the cure, doesn't care.
Yes, yes. Very cool. Thanks for sharing,
Yeah.
Taylor. Yeah, that's fun. That's man, the Catholic stuff is so fun. I love like walking into like an old Catholic church is really fun. Not in the US, like in
No,
Europe.
no, no.
'Cause when
Yeah.
you're in Europe, it's like,
It's
okay,
just so
this is like
they're so dramatic, you
it's
know,
so
all of these
dramatic.
like oh, because also in okay, I don't know if this is true, and this is not a spoiler for the first Omen, but in it, like I forgot that like when you are a nun, you're married to God. So you have to like have like a wedding and wear like a wedding ring, you know?
Really?
And it's just like very, very dramatic. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, there's apparently a saint who was known for his orgies, so we got to cover that guy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It seems like the bar's all over the place. I like don't really know exactly where it is.
You really were. If you were gonna shoot for anything, you would shoot for being an early saint because it sounds like you kind of got to do whatever you wanted to. But also, the church was still building, so they were like, "All right, well, maybe you gave him a lot of money, and that's all it took to be a saint." I don't know. Maybe it
Well,
was all a scam.
maybe. And then I also did, there's also like saints where they have like their finger somewhere.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, like a
yes.
relic, like relics. Saints also have relics. I think we should talk about that sometime. Like, oh, the head and finger of Saint Catherine are in Tuscany. Like, what? That
Hold
is
on.
so wild.
It was. Is it Urbain Grandier? Is he a saint now? Do you remember his story?
No, oh my God, the head of Saint Catherine in Siena is real fucking scary. It's the dead head. I don't
Yeah.
love it.
Uh, I guess. Wait, was Urbain Grandier ever a saint? Was Urbain Grandier ever a saint? No, it was never. He was never a saint. But they do have parts of his body. So he was the one that last podcast did the Devils of Loudun. Remember that episode
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
where they thought that he was like the women were like having dreams about him, and so they thought he was like a devil or whatever, and so they like
Hmm.
tortured the shit out of him before they killed him, and they have his body parts like in the church. Yeah. Anyways,
Do
um,
they? I don't know.
very
Um,
fun. Very,
yeah,
very fun.
yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for listening. I have one listener mail to share from our friend Nadine, who wrote to me regarding Christopher Hitchens that you mentioned in your last
Yeah.
episode. She said, OMFG, Taylor. I can't believe you don't know Christopher Hitchens because you would totally agree with everything he ever said. Biggest anti-theist ever, I think. I hope you've done a deep dive since recording the Mother Teresa episode and loved it.
I mean, thank you for that. And also, like, I think I mentioned on that episode, I was like, literally every like world theory I have that has shaped my life comes from watching or listening to him. Well,
Yeah, I
I
gotta
should
make
read
it a
about I
priority.
should read his work, but I never did.
Well,
But
you don't read.
I don't
I
read.
mean,
But
you know how to, but like you don't do
I,
it.
I, I know how to hit the record button. I know what the record button looks like.
Yeah.
No, watch his YouTube clips. His YouTube
I
clips are
will.
just incredible. Like, there's hours and hours of content out there. So,
Cool.
thank you for writing in.
Cool.
And also, yeah, if you have any thoughts you want to write in, please do it. DoNFLpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, any weird saints that you know about? There's so many, you know, like who's the one that like I feel like there's something in Sweden, I'll look it up, but like where like the saint's eyes are taken out of her head, so you like close your eyes, but you have candles on your head or something, like a whole thing.
Again, who thinks of this stuff? Only
I
like
know.
it's so fun.
And
So
I'm
fun.
turning the page on it, like, yes, the Catholic Church does terrible things, like the molestation, for example.
But they
But
give us so much.
the
The
lore is pretty fun.
Exorcist, Omen movie. Like, come on. Like,
I think popular culture has done good. Well, the storytelling is good in some cases. Like, I don't know. That's weird. No,
I'm a fan.
not always. But I did, yeah, I do love it. I kind of want to watch the original Omen tonight. I remember watching it when I was a child and being so fucking scared when they open up that coffin and there's a jackal inside. What's wrong with my mom? My mom let me watch that when I was like 7.
That's not a movie you watch when you're 7. I couldn't handle it when I was
Like
like
part of my problem.
19.
I know. Yeah, but yeah, cool. Thanks for listening to Fill Pod on all socials. We have found footage on YouTube that I found in my home, and it is up to relaxing jazz music. So it's kind of fun to watch some people that we don't know from the 1960s living their lives. If you know them, let me know.
Literally just like have it running on a monitor like while you're working.
Yeah, it's
It's
nice.
so chill.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that I have it
Um,
up there. I've been meaning to for a while. So
Thank you for sharing. You know, one other thing I was thinking before we hop off, I was actually wondering, like I was looking at this family line, Olga's family line, and it is deep.
yeah,
It
like I
is,
really want to do Ivan the Terrible. Like,
yeah.
like there's so we love Russia. So there's so many like Russian things too in there.
A lot of Russian things. And then it made me like I started Googling like are any of these ancestors like alive now? And if they are,
Hmm.
what are they doing? And I can't really get to a bottom of it. I'm gonna keep Googling though, but it's
Oh, you keep going. I have a cool thing to share.
no, that's it. I just want to figure out like where are they now because they look like a crazy dynastic family. Because I
Yeah.
went several under issue on LinkedIn or Wikipedia. If you click through like several generations, you'll eventually get to like Queen of Denmark or whatever. Like
Hmm.
they ended up in like very steep royal lines apparently.
Yeah, totally, which is good for her. So I have my 23andMe, and I like the health reports. I paid like a lot of money to get the health report to find out that I don't have the gene for Alzheimer's, which I was very worried about because my grandma had it. So I don't have that, and it was like a big relief. So I don't know, that doesn't mean it's never going to happen, but like I don't have that like direct gene. So that was good. But I paid more money recently to see who my historical ancestors are. And it's super fun. So I have some historical matches. I have 10 historical matches. Some of the, and all of them are Vikings, like a Viking age individual found in Denmark, a Viking age individual found in Estonia, in Sweden, in the UK. So that's super fun.
Do you know
So
who?
no, it just says that. So if I click on any of them, it says Viking age individual, blah, 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 found in Denmark. So it says this person was found in a simple unmarked pit grave near the present-day region of Bakendrup in the western part of Zealand in Denmark. It was excavated in 1979 and from the National Museum of Denmark. Based on the style of burial, they believe that they died in the 9th century. By analyzing DNA from her tooth, they discovered that she was female and that we're related. Isn't that cool?
That's cool. Hey, you should do ancestry.com because I think they can narrow it down to like actual individuals.
I don't think there are any actual individuals.
Hmm, got it.
Like I'm from a poor people. I'm from like a my dad's always like, "Do you know what our family was doing this day in history?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "They were at a bar." And I'm like, he's like, "There's a really good chance that's true." And I'm like, "You're totally right."
It
We
would be
weren't like
interesting.
making
Yeah.
things, but I should do that too. But I think Olga is close to my people.
All
Even though I'm
right.
not tall and blonde, I know some tall and blonde people I'm related to.
I believe it.
Mhm.
Sweet. Well, thank you for sharing. And yeah, as I said, if you have anything you want to write in, comment about, please do nflpod@gmail.com. Anything else, Taylor?
That's it. Thank you.
Sweet. And we're gonna cut.